Welcome to another episode of Access to Perspectives Conversations. I'm glad to be able to welcome today and introduce to you Sergio Santamarina, a longtime friend and colleague. I don't know, have we actually met in person? Let's talk about that for a minute, maybe less than a minute. But yeah, warm welcome, Sergio. We've never met in person, nodding your head. I mean, not, what's the word, like, as you just non-verbally confirmed or okay, but welcome, warm welcome, Sergio. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. Yeah, we have never met in person. We talk by phone or Zoom, and we share, I think, many conferences on open science as well.
We've met surely on an online event around open science. And okay, just a little bit of background about yourself. So you're a librarian at the University José Clemente PAZ in Argentina. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So you post a lot of things on social media, primarily where I'm observing, monitoring is LinkedIn. And I caught, like, my eye caught a post that you shared, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't know, I think, about a book chapter that you wrote about persistent identifiers. And the chapter title is Persistent Identifiers, the Achilles heel of open science. Now that's interesting for many reasons, but primarily because technologically, the open science tech affiliated community tends to believe and trust and advocate for persistent identifiers because they facilitate open science practices. And being in the community, and I know that there's a lot of pains around the topic, as much as yes, they have valid points, and most prominent in, I don't know if we can extrapolate that for global reach, but what I'm aware of, and maybe you can share your view. What's being promoted most and strongest are DOIs, Digital Object Identifiers, for scholarly digital items that are articles, preprints, datasets, anything that's a file. Then we have, and then, okay, important to note here is that besides DOIs, there are other item identifiers that are presumably persistent. I say presumably because what I learned in a webinar is that like nothing is 100% secure or safe in this world, and also not in the tech sector. Okay, so there we have ARCs, we have handles, we have URLs, which are more or less the same. And URLs tend to, well, URLs are maybe not item directed. That's the difference between a URL. Anyway, so let's get into that later. And then we have person identifiers with
URL are not persistent.
URLs are not persistent, whatever persistent means.
And the definition was there, and it was taken on purpose when you see the history of internet. And that was what my research led to it. But I will start a little bit telling about the background and how I came into persistent identifiers, this topic that I'm researching now and that the chapter was about.
Yes, of course.
I am a librarian at the University of José Paz in the Greater Buenos Aires area. It's a very young university. It's 15 years old only. But nonetheless, we have around 40,000 students. And this is because it's a university. In Argentina, we have a public university system because we believe that the higher education is a human right and should be accessible to all, regardless if they come from rich family or their family have previous educational or cultural capital. So in this particular university where I work, 90+% are the first generation in the history of their family that access to higher education.
Wow, yeah.
So of those 40,000 students, they don't have uh, history in their family in any previous generation to have access to higher education. So you can see that it's a big work that the university does, and to support those students, the library is the heart of that. To be able to fulfill that the goal of giving access to higher education, because they need someone always to. It's not just the space that is comfortable, and because they tend to live in crowded spaces, with sharing with different siblings or multi familiar spaces. So in the library they find a quiet place to study and read. But also we tend to have like very low barriers. So if they have a doubt, they can ask, like just raising their hand and calling for the librarian to assist them with a computer issue or with the doubt that they have. Because it's like when you are at home studying and your parent, when they have the cultural background, you can consult them.
That's so
So
nice. It's a nice,
yes,
approachable learning setting also for the students, which, like in big universities, you don't find very often anymore.
we try to be very close to our students, because we need to. This is something also that this institution does, not all the universities, but particularly the University of José. They tend to be responsible for the successful career, or the journey of these students. Usually universities, they like when you have the educational system, the initial education, primary education, secondary school, the institution and the students are sharing the responsibility of a successful journey. But when it comes to university, it's only the student responsibility to complete. It's like the institution has nothing to do, just to be strict and to ask for results, but not accompany, no having responsibility. If the student is not successful, I'm sorry, it's because you didn't put your part as you had. And it was supposed to. So this is a nice setting. This why this big introduction to the topic is because we in Latin America, we publish in open access, because our university is public. We have like in Argentina, we have open access law that we say the research is financed by the government, and then it should not be paid twice. So whatever researchers at the public universities are publishing, they should be published in open access.
And that's on national level in Argentina only, or is this across the whole region of Latin America?
In Argentina, we have, and there are similar laws all over Latin America.
That makes a lot of sense. Also, let me just add here that it's actually in the Human Rights Declaration that we have as humanity across the globe. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Article 27, says explicitly that every human being on this very planet has the right to engage and benefit of research advancements and achievements, and benefits that, well, and research supposed to benefit society. So it's a given for anyone in all countries. So why is it so difficult to implement? And then on top of that, I was virtually attending the first Diamond Open Access Summit, which was hosted in Mexico by America Redalik and the national institutions, with representatives, well, from Europe, but primarily Global South representatives, and obviously primarily from Latin America, and most were from Mexico because it was hosted there. And there they came up with a manifesto, which basically also says what you said, that open access as we now know it, like to publish free of charge for readers to not have to pay to read. And basically, the diamond approach is a human right and should be not commercial. But I just wanted to add that, and I'll also put the references and the websites to the
Yeah,
in the notes.
yeah, and the thing is, when we started together with the editorial area of the university, we as the librarians we became the support for the installation of OGS and OMP to publish open access books and journals, and I was in charge of that development, the technical aspect. So I found that the persistent identifier was a barrier for us. We couldn't, we saw that in order to be indexed in those index that will make our research be part of a global conversation. Besides the language barrier, that is already a big one. But okay, we can also acknowledge the flexibility of English in regarding pronunciation, and maybe that you can still communicate if you don't conjugate put the verb tenses perfectly, people still can understand. It's very flexible to be like a lingua franca.
Mm.
Still, it's not our own language, and it's not everybody can express themselves
Sure.
in English.
But also, the whole discussion about lingua franca is always regional. And it's not true simply. I mean, not saying your language, but this whole idea of that English is the lingua franca of science, it's just not true. We have multiple linguae francae, so to say.
Mhm.
One of which is Spanish, we have Portuguese, we have Arabic, we have Mandarin, we have German, French to a large extent. And it's just that English is being pushed for multiple reasons, one of which are commercial reasons. We come to talk about that, I suppose. And then
Yeah.
the other reason is yes, we need a common language which we can communicate globally, but it's only for a certain amount of time in history that currently English happens to be that language from some, and you might argue many disciplines, but certainly not all research disciplines that exist to
Of course.
equal extent. So I just needed to put this into perspective also for myself, because like this setting of the podcast actually helps me to also shift my own perspective on things that we all work with and come across and engage with in our professional endeavors. So sorry
Yeah,
for
that
the interruption,
my
but
point is that of course it will be good that we could make the impact that we wish just by publishing in Spanish. But you would is you can miss conversations not because you refuse to speak other language. So like this conversation won't be happening if I will stick to my Spanish and you to your German. So
yeah, well, maybe
we
you would then have the same or similar conversation in Spanish and reach another audience, which doesn't mean that one is
yeah.
better than the other. It's just different.
No, it's
Opportunity.
just to have conversations with people. Like I participate in different working groups
Yeah.
where we meet from different perspective, and English is the lingua franca.
Mm.
I'm not saying that we should all maintain this, but we can challenge it, but we can also use it.
Of course,
Uh,
yeah. I'm also like I want to emphasize that I'm very much using English as a language of communication in a professional setting. At the same time, I also aim to sensitize myself and others that there's is not the only one, that
mhm.
researchers and scholars communicate about anything research related, including open science, yeah, because it's just a barrier for them in many cases, but then they might still discuss the same topics in their regional language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other barrier that we found in the establishing the open access portals for the editorial, and we at the library we were already installed. Everything was being working nice, and we found that the persistent identifier was something we didn't have to be able to be indexed and participate in the global conversation. We tried to have DOIs. We asked for grants or support, but because Argentina is in the ranking countries that we are not as poor as we should to get help for to get DOIs, then we should pay to get them, or we have to deposit in a European repository in order to get the DOI. One of the journals of the university decided to go that way, and that's what we are doing. We deposit in Zenodo the XML version of the article. With that, we get the DOI, and we just. But it's a very colonialistic situation, and it's not a real object identifier that relates to the context where that knowledge was produced, because you will get the XML, and then you will have to refer to the journals to see the PDF and the HTML. But is what we found is that it's not so easy for us, and the consideration of what institution was asking for, it was not taken care. They just see the global country-wise economy, and everything was about economy and GDP, and with that number in mind, they rank the country like, okay, you can pay. No, actually, I was not able to pay. My university was focused on giving access to higher education to those people who were neglected. So the DOI was not expenditure for nobody in the university, because we cannot afford it. It's not in our main. Imagine we can buy books without that money. We are struggling to buy books. Of course, we are not gonna pay for persistent identifiers.
Yeah. Can you, just for the listeners, and also, do you have numbers as an example? It doesn't have to be exact, but just roughly how much per year an institution,
It was
like
200 something, 230, $250 per year, plus $1 per article. And we have published, I can tell you.
So the 250 or so is the membership, right? That's the membership fee for dataset.
We have already in our catalog 110 books in open access, and we have
and then for books, each chapter needs
well, we don't publish each. If you wish, for each chapter you have to pay $1.
Yeah.
And then for each article is $1 as well. And we have more than 15 journals. I don't know how many articles in total, but plus 1,000 for sure.
So that's like it's minimum like 2,000-3,000. Well, I think no, several thousands, you say. So big university, like, I don't know, it's like about $10,000.
Yes, it's a lot of money for us.
That's a lot of money, and that's maybe not a librarian salary, but certainly a student assistant that you could pay for. I mean, employ for.
And it's more that we can afford in books. I can compare. I can, our library we have a lot of donations from teachers to be able to have the material, reading
Oh,
materials for students.
yeah.
Uh, so of course we are not gonna pay
Mm.
that much money.
Okay. Now the system how it's set up is that the discovery systems for literature. So now we're talking about digital object identifiers, meaning DOIs, either processed and provided by DataCite or Crossref. And Crossref is currently the dominant system, which is being used by downstream services, which enable discoverability. So,
The thing is, Crossref and DataCite,
yeah.
they are for North America principally and Europe,
Mm,
but there are also other uh, who have the capacity to mint DOIs
yeah.
that are in Japan, in China, in South Korea.
Uh-huh.
They have also the capacity to mint DOIs. And because the DOI Foundation, they gave the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So my question at the beginning was, why can Latin America or Africa mint their own regional DOIs with from the DOI Foundation, giving the possibility? So that was my poster at the OASPA
Mm-hmm.
um,
Conference.
uh, conference, I think 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
to to challenge that we are capable of this. So because on those, I do not I recognize that we have a technical, we have an aspect of cost. I don't want to make everything free for everybody and let some other person assume the cost. But in the same way, you can establish in a country higher education that is free. You can absorb if you in that economy you hold your tools. You make your tools. I mean the cost related to the economy you are serving. So the decentralization. If we are gonna support the structure of minting DOIs, we could do it paying Latin American salaries, not American salaries.
Yeah.
And if you look closer on the costs of the current commercial DOIs that are allowed for us, or DataSci or Crossref, most of the cost is maintaining the structure that promotes the community, the engagement, and it's not technical, it's not hardware. Is what you're supporting is
It's the sales and
everything else.
marketing.
It's the marketing standard and the Crossref seal being seen everywhere, or the DataSite seal logo and seen everywhere,
Mm.
because they spend a lot of money in community engagement.
Mm.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but we cannot afford to support that because we don't have that much money.
Yeah.
So they kind of answered that we were not prepared, that we didn't have a structure to in the global south. That's not true. I got answers like you cannot solve it technically. You cannot have DOIs. You cannot mint yourself your DOIs because you won't be able to do it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I started looking for alternatives. And ARC was a good alternative. And also with the decentralization that came with this blockchain technology and computer, not especially blockchain, but the peer-to-peer technology.
Mm.
We are in a working group that is trying to establish like a Fediverse of the DOIs. You know, I don't know if
Mhm.
you're if
Yeah,
you know the Fediverse concept for social network.
yes. So
Because
that means like decentralized, there's no central node, but every node is treated equally and contributes to the bigger technology.
Yeah, and with the distributed hash table that belongs to the network, everybody will have the information that it's in the network, in every node, all the information. And with the protocol for to discover changes and actualizations that will reverberate in the whole network. So that's why we are working. These are very tough times because we see the evolution. The thing we have to decolonize open science. The open science is based on internet. Internet is it has a colonized structure, and so we have to revert so many things uh, in order to be able to build it. We have to rebuild everything.
Mm.
But the things are very exposed every day more clearly. So there is a chance now irrationality is in power in the USA, and then it is exposing how centralized the knowledge infrastructure was. So they wipe. Okay, now the NIH public health information that was there is wiped. We censor some concepts won't be showing anymore, and they are asking, oh, please decentralize our central server, otherwise this information will be lost.
Mm.
There was a pledge from the NIH workers to replicate the repository because by executive order they could be erased anytime,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
and that information will be lost.
Mm.
So centralization is also against preservation.
Yeah. Who would have thought that the democracy in the biggest advocate and often by force, talking about the United States of America, is so easily being dismantled. Like, and we're watching it all happening as we speak. Anyways, so yeah.
Yeah, and for us in Latin America, we are resilient because we've been dealing with those type of governments because they are the type of governments they design for us. That now they're drinking their own poison, but those are the type of government they decide for us for so long.
Yeah.
So we are resilient. We can do science regardless. So now the focus will be on us, and they will say, "Oh, you can do science with no money, and you can do science besides the not support from your central government. Oh, you can do science without the private corporations backing you." Yes, we can, and this is how we have been doing. You have to rely on community. You have to rely on cooperation. You have to rely on giving the value to building horizontal networks.
But also, can I just add here that what Latin America has learned, in part painfully because of the political circumstances, is also a very natural thing how to operate the research ecosystem because science, as we just recalled from the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, like let me just rephrase, United Nations are basically most countries, governed countries on this planet agreed that research engagement for any citizen is a human right. And Latin America lives that in your blood and veins. I mean, you know what I mean. I'm not good with
Yeah,
phrases because
but also not apart, these multilateral structures, they tend to replicate colonialism, you know?
yeah.
Just it will be nice if UNESCO will back the building of different infrastructures, but they're not in the 100%.
Yeah, I think they, I mean, UNESCO, they painfully, they also have to be some people might want to say diplomatic, but they need to be gentle to where the money is coming from. And most of the
Exactly.
money that the United Nations receive is from Western countries. Yeah. So of course,
Exactly. So for us, it's good in Latin America to empower ourselves to recognize that we don't have to replicate global north structures to create our networks, to create our solutions. So what I mean is, it's good that they are looking at us, but it's also an opportunity for us to also look at us with different perspective. Not the, like, how to say, we've been participating in the open science conversation, but more or less as a plus one in a party. So, oh, I'm a global north researcher and I speak about global south perspective. And the conversation was primarily uh, happening in the north. We were just uh, trying to get in or from by the windows or as a guest, as a plus one, but we were not. It was not our party. So we have to get confident. We have to reach realities that are more similar, and I think it's better if we make the efforts the, to speak with the African continent and see the realities as well as our that for sure they're more similar than if we look at the global north. And it's an effort that we should do to try to establish our own relations, our own structures. And because we are open, we are publishing in open science, we are promoting higher education, we are having valuable research is happening in our communities, and that should be the effort. But my fear is that open science is a hype. It's a hype that has one commercial interest, that is to train artificial intelligence, and it's a hype to get funded if you comply with the tools and the how to say, and the what is expected. So you get the open science label. It's like an open science wash to the research, but the real open science should be as the real higher education as a human right, to always look who you are leaving out, always look who you are not reaching out. So your effort is never ending until everybody's in.
Yeah, at the second Diamond Open Access Summit, we had a strong keynote by, I'll find the name, a Kenyan indigenous food systems researcher, Abukutsa, first name I recall and share the reference. And her whole presentation was about how many honors she received, how many prizes, how many publications. But then, like in the middle of it, she had a kind of wake up call to the audience. Like, I don't care about all of these recognitions. All I care about is that the research I'm doing reaches the people I'm doing this for. And for that, I give interviews to journalists. For that, I go to the communities, talk to the farmers. For that, I do, and that's open science. That's citizen engagement. That's stakeholder engagement at its root for who is supposed to benefit of the research. And that makes, I mean, this is for applied research, to contextualize agriculture, food systems, whatnot, food security. But also, like, this is what I also try and teach in my trainings. Stakeholder engagement is of the essence and is also open science. but now with the persistent identifiers, we talk about the technical bits. When it comes to, yes, we also need to write up our thesis, our research articles, our book chapters. And the persistent identifiers are presumably, first of all, to secure the digital items online. And what I learned by a presentation actually of John Kunze, who's the father of ARCs, the more democratic or way more, or the democratic alternative to DOIs, because not central, maybe you can say a few words about that. And he said like digital decay is still happening also with persistent identifiers. It's not that they cannot decay, but the likelihood
Yeah.
is smaller. They're more secure, but they're not 100% secure as we often think. And some of us might have found that the DOI does not resolve to the actual item, but then you get an error message by the DOI Foundation. And then you need to contact the publisher to contact the DI Foundation to reestablish the connection between the item and the identifier. So anyways, long story short, they're not perfect. Some might argue it's the best we have, but is it really, Sergio? What alternatives do we have to DIs, which are pretty much promoted? I think also just to add that layer of information, because what I see in the whole discussion about is all about, at the end of the day, is all about discoverability. How can we make sure research articles are being read and cited, which sadly is the current, well, the being read is important because otherwise why publish in the first place? And the citation rate is another metric. You can also discuss how relevant it is and how manipulatable it is. But the problem is that currently most downstream services only rely on cross-ref DOIs and nothing else. And that's really killing it because even if, like for Africa Archive, we have datasite DOIs, and datasite DOIs are being harvested or are being, what is it like, pulled into Google Scholar, but not by many other systems. I think OpenAlex now also has it, but certainly not the commercial databases that that many sadly use, where there are free alternatives. So as much as then you might argue you have a DOI, but discoverability is not given still. So why pay, you might argue, in the first place? And so as a librarian, I think for you, for librarians, also the preservation is essential because you have to make sure, as part of your job description, that the scholarly works are archived securely or as secure as can be. Therefore, the
Yeah.
persistence bit is essential. But what about the researchers and their ambition to have their work discoverable?
Yeah. The one thing I will say is the main thing is to make connections. So the preservation, we have it. I'm really grateful to the PKP work because OGS and OMP, they have the reservation network that grants you some, by replication, they keep copies with the logs, lot of copies to store safe. How to say, this is like a system that you apply when you install OGS and OMP. So that besides our backups and our servers, that we don't we have sovereignty in our university. We are using our own servers, and we are developing the ways to try to solve in our own servers, so we don't hire cloud services outside the university. So because we want to be sure that the even outdated is ours. That is the principle that usually the universities, because we fought a lot for autonomy in the university, for autonomy from the central government and autonomy in our solutions. Each university in Argentina have their own policy, and the way we govern the university is with the participation of students, teachers, and workers. We elect the authorities for the university. It's not a board of people who put money, or it's not the central government decision who rules at the university. The university is ruled by the democratic election of students, teachers, and workers. So that's already
That's a great
the context
autonomy.
from where and this is something that we should be exporting. I mean, instead of us also trying to copy good models from outside, this is a good model to apply
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
higher education.
I'm glad we talk about this on the podcast, so hopefully some people will hear and consider their own governance and then take an example from what you just described.
So the persistent identifier that should work, it should have this kind of the autonomy of, and the minting should be done at your server. Of course, decentralization means you have to take your part doing your job. It's not as easy as having a privatized solution. The same with the open software. The same with if you decide to have a Linux instead of Windows on your computer. The same if you decide to take participation in your governments. You have to read the information and be conscious on your decisions. So what I will be studying, I was researching and talking with the other researchers. We have a working group that was established 1 year ago, where people from Russia, from Italy, from Sweden, Austria, myself from Argentina. We had some participation from Brazil as well, and even people from the United States. We were talking about the problem of persistent identifiers and how to create this decentralized solution. We value the ARC already, and we know that it has a potential. So we are trying to create a decentralized network that will be based on ARC. So all those ARC instances can be waived into a decentralized network, where in a distributed hash table that holds the information of the whole network. That's where we are working. I speak with the John Kunze every 2 weeks, more or less, to be able to try to engage community on ARC, on how to create solutions for ARC, and also I'm working on the ARC side to try to make them more open to community participation. It's hard, but I think we are in a good path. They are feeling also challenged by the government because they saw that they are also very dependent on executive orders. So they're trying to change their governance. Otherwise, the whole project can be canceled one day to the next, because they depend on the.
US-based? Is it US?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And they are trying to get out of there because it's a big problem.
Yeah.
But in this, it's just like it's just that we have to be conscious. We have to be engaged in conversations to state the problems without being afraid of okay, maybe no money will come to me if I say this. No money will come to you anyway now. So we are losing the fear to speak.
Yeah, that option is
At
already
least you,
given.
at least you build weapons or you are in the AI business, no money will come to you.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I think
so
that's also an opportunity where there's scarcity, there tends to be a lot of innovation
exactly,
and also
we
collective
will
effort.
we will be we in Latin America. We are the scarcity creatives. We are scarcity surfers.
Experts specialize in
Yes,
scarcity management.
on doing science with no money and community is the key.
But also
So
scarcity, I mean, first of all, often leads to collaboration because out of necessity, and then there is more friendly collaboration and co-creation of research projects.
then the other thing, and it's like this is more like philosophical, is mm, to 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 rethink and to talk to ourselves
Mm.
to what does it mean to be successful.
Mm.
And I think that's a key point because a successful scientist is not he who got a lot of money and got
Nobel Prize or whatever.
yeah, or he got a grant and now he moved from Argentina to a different society. Or now he lives in Europe and he's away from his uh, family. Oh, but he's a successful scientist. I don't know, because if you have to emigrate to other country in order
Mm.
to be successful, if you have to leave your community, your family, your affections, in order to be successful, then it's not success.
Yeah. I want to,
So
yeah, go ahead. No.
because we tend to what is as this there are developed countries and underdeveloped. So this means when we say this means that the goal is to be like the developed ones, and it's not,
No,
and
no.
it's
Yeah.
not because
It's,
the societies are not healthy societies
it's
to
not
be
healthy, it's
imitated.
not sustainable. We treat our people like the animals
We
on the
have
planet. Like, no.
you have to care the society aspect, the ecological aspect, and the economy aspect in equal dimensions.
Yeah.
You know. So, what are your relations, your family relations? How healthy are your family relations? How healthy how is your environment around
Mm.
the nature around you? And how is your economy? All the three are should be healthy in order to be successful.
Yeah, totally
So
agree.
if you only look at the money, you are not looking on the ecological aspect or the social aspect, then it's a sick society that always goes uh, behind money. And science also should not look at that.
Mm.
I mean, science should not be profitable science.
I think also at an institutional level, what might help if universities and also research institutes like Max Planck or what else in France you have, what are they called? Anyways, the big or also smaller research institutes and alliances. Like if we remind ourselves, who are we doing this for? Why are we generating knowledge through research? What's the purpose at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day? Why do people get up? Why do we all work in this machine, which is academia? What do we want to get out of it as a community, globally, nationally, regionally, individually? What does each of us in the ecosystem, like you as a librarian, me as a consultant trainer, the researchers, what's their stake in being on that job in academia? And then I think most of us, we want to serve society. We want to make sure this planet is here for more generations to come of humans to live on it. So how is it that we keep forgetting about that? And we all know the answer is capitalism and shareholding, but
Yeah.
can we please step out of that these chains and liberate ourselves and academia alongside. I wanted to come back to what I raised earlier as a challenge, but I found my own solution because discoverability, give or take, we have persistent identifiers. Some are being more promoted with a lot of money behind, which also makes them expensive, as we discussed. But then I think you also partly answered that already. There's still a chance to achieve discoverability at a regional level. So I'm now targeting, so in Latin America, institutions decided for ARCs over DOIs because of affordability. And one question that I'd like us to discuss briefly is, ARCs are free to mint, but then what's the technical burden? How much technical expertise is required at the institution to be able to operate ARCs for the system? Maybe we can take this now briefly before we continue.
Well, not so much. It's not so hard to link the arcs. The only thing is that the metadata is not as and the network of ARC is not established as the DOI is established as the network of detecting DOIs and harvesting DOIs is not established for ARC. That's why a solution that we are trying to develop is we're working on the creation of a network for the ARC system. So you can have a cross-ref like, but with the Fediverse logic.
Okay. So that people can support each other with the technical
Yes.
requirements and expertise. No, that's great.
So the last conversation with John Kunze was that we need to have a forum like PKP has for the tool. So a question can be solved horizontally and not just write a mail to ARC so we reply. So there is a community conversation. There are already some Google groups, but these Google groups, they don't work as well as a forum.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
that effort already is in agenda, and I think the speed also is a colonized metric, that things should go fast and solutions should come fast. It's also a colonized metric. So it's no problem if we take our time to do it.
Okay. Yeah, well, however long it takes, we know we're here for the marathon, the long run. And for many good things, there's no quick I mean, there might be quick measures to cope, but to establish something that's stable and resilient takes time. Look at evolution.
Exactly.
How it's evolved.
So we should not be, this is to talk about our frustration. If we expect, we know the problem is accumulating, our solution should be there. But if we push ourselves to do it fast and then we we get frustrated, or we think it's not fast enough, the solution coming, and we resign before reaching, then we are losing the perspective. The perspective is that we keep walking towards a solution and it will come.
Yeah, I agree.
It will come.
I wanted
because naturally the perspective of a web community of researchers that share the knowledge for the common good is natural for humans, because we came here by sharing. It's not that, oh, I got fired and I will hide for myself in my cave and I won't share it. We survived so long by sharing.
True.
So we will be there also sharing. We will reach our future by sharing.
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted to also like just what's the word? Like I want to provide relief to the pain point that I've seen for the longest time that, like I said, DOIs by Crossref are the primary technology with a metadata schema, and let's agree it's a good metadata schema. Um, if it wasn't so expensive, like you pointed out, if there
Yeah,
was
but
so
also
much,
a good metadata schema is the OAI PMH solution that
yeah.
is always usually overlooked, and it's wonderful.
Which one?
And you can have it on OAI PMH.
Oh yeah, so that's the one that's also
The
embedded
protocol,
in this space, but also it's an
it's
interoperable
you have it
protocol.
in this space, you have it in Omeka, you have it in OGS, you have it in OMP, and you can harvest with OAI PMH.
Yes. No, that's great. Which brings me to my point.
That solution is there. The thing
Yeah,
is, it's overlooked because the
exactly.
noise the Crossref and the DOI makes by putting a
Mm,
lot of money on how good they are.
yeah,
And I don't mean to say it's not a good solution or to, but we can create a collective solution.
yeah.
It's a centralized solution, and it
I
was commercial from the beginning. What I found in my research that was interesting
mm,
is that I went back to this colony is the colonization of internet. I'm writing also on the history of internet. We have to know our history to know how we got here.
mm,
So internet first a military protocol, then a scholarly communication solution, then a community solution that made people feel worried, and they started to uh, shape it on the way it is now. Uh, we had a time of people's internet that was a very short window. We those who are plus 40, we live it. We know how it was,
mm,
but the the young generation, they are only know platforms and mobile phones, but that's what it was designed for us. But the other one is still there as a potential, is there to rebuild that
yeah,
window of a people's internet. Just we have to take our efforts to reconstruct it. So going back in that internet task force, Tim Berners-Lee, he published all his email communication as an archive of the internet task force. In that email archive, I found the DOI, the first DOI email to Tim Berners-Lee and the Internet Task Force, and they were asking to. The context was that the researchers and the health researchers in the United States, they wanted to publish openly the digital versions of the papers they were circulating in print by the big journals.
mm,
And they considered that they had right because of the copyright and the knowledge production,
mhm,
that the digital version of that was circulating on paper, that they had to be printed, distributed, that had a cost, and they understood that cost, but they felt that the digital version, it was belonged to the researchers,
yeah,
and they wanted to publish freely on the NIH servers. When the publishers found this out, they quickly wanted to create something to block
wow,
though that free publishing, and that solution was DOI. So DOI was not for open access. All the country was for private profit from the beginning.
but that's
And that mail is there where they are saying, Tim Berners-Lee, we want to protect copyright by the creation of a digital object identifier.
mm, wow. Thanks for
So
sharing.
if we are naive, we can say, yes, DOI promotes open science, but it's not.
Mm.
DOI promotes profit warranty.
Would you agree though? No, I already know your answer. I was gonna go the way that DOIs are another way, but why reinvent the wheel for interoperability? But it's a very expensive way to do that because we already had it.
And from the genesis, maybe now there are other people working that came to Crossref. I don't want to say that everybody in Crossref wants to, but the genesis of the tool was this purpose.
Same. I mean, there's history in the
Of course, the genesis of internet was the military at the beginning. So it doesn't mean, but it's good to have things in clear.
Yeah,
in the
to
open.
understand where it's coming from. And in the course of history, things that were originally built for evil can be repurposed for something good for the
Of
company.
course.
Not saying any of that is happening here, but arguments given. So as a biologist, I believe in the concept of diversity. Do you feel with all the pains that you highlighted through another conversation, but primarily your research and the book chapter, the fact that we now have several identifiers for research items, is that maybe also an opportunity for diversification and checking different routes and pathways with regard to sustainability of the service and the infrastructure? Or
I think so. I think with the same way with the social networks, you have diversity now, and like those networks that have a hidden agenda and a profit means that are there, and you can choose to be in or not. You leverage your what's the purpose of the tool and what you're gonna if the trade is asking for, like, okay, you lose your privacy, you lose your information, but you can connect with your family in other side of the world. Okay, you trade that. So everything comes with a trade. We are already, if you are a conscious user of the digital tools, that critic like distrust and critical thinking is there. So you leverage the tools and choose a network, a social network, or a software by doing this kind of thing. And the same can be done with the persistent identifiers.
Yes.
We are trying to do our solutions that could serve for this distributed hash table to create a network to serve every persistent identifier, but we will focus on ARC because ARC is the one that needs to create its own network first. So then when we kind of go to a certain level, we can also open it to different percent. But also there are open citations effort is very good. You can have another persistent identifiers for specific purposes, and it's good that if we understand that each persistent identifier holds a purpose. Now the research is every time more semantic, so you do not need to have a persistent identifier to discover or to be indexed to discover because now the also with the help of AI, a more semantic search is there. So it's good to have the tools. It's good to wave the network. But the main thing is if we decolonize our subjectivity to understand that we in the Global South have a powerful knowledge and we have a powerful experiences that can be imitated from the Global North as well. And in the Global North, they should understand that open science is not a set of tools, but an effort to not to let your privileges be I don't know how you call those things that you put on the horses that you
Yeah,
cannot.
blinders, I think they call them. I don't know.
Yes. So your privilege are not your blinders, and you have that hold the privileges in the global north. You have to make an extra effort
Mm.
to look besides those blinders. So how many times, like, ask yourself, how many women are on your bibliography when you produce a paper? How many from the global south? How many are color? How many are from indigenous? How many indigenous researchers have you cited on your papers?
Exactly. Yeah.
Those things you can ask. That is open science. It's not a tool.
Yeah.
It's a mindset.
Exactly.
Open science is a mindset.
On
It's
that
not if you
note,
have a
sorry.
DOI or you have if you publish in an open repository.
Mm.
Open science is not a set of tools or technical aspect to accomplish, but a mindset where privilege has nothing to do with science.
Yeah. Eh, yeah, I totally subscribe to that. And also on the argument that I raised earlier with regards to discoverability and now feeding into or adding to what you just said, no, like it's important to know that there are regional databases. In Latin America, you have Ridderlig for Diamond Open Access journals. You have La Referencia for institutional repositories from across the continent, most if not all
We
countries.
have Cielo, we have Latindex as well.
There's Cielo, there's Latindex, then the national databases.
Mhm.
So it really matters if a researcher from whichever institute in whichever country on this planet makes a claim that their research is global, then you better do your homework and plow through the databases that are regional and not only through your Web of Science or Scopus. At least make an effort to, now that's a call to action to the listeners, make an effort to use OpenAlex and the Lens, which are more open as to also multilingual to a larger extent than you will find on any of the two commercial
Core as well.
databases, and core for repositories. And then also there's regional databases that we just mentioned for Latin America and Africa. There's Baobab, there's Africa Archive. For journals, there's AJOL, there's ELPOS, the African Platform for Open Scholarship, which we just advocate or promoted through the Africa Archive Open Science webinar series. So you have all of these options, and I think it's imperative for a scholar who has a global scope with their research discipline and research topic to be knowledgeable about these venues where you find literature from the region in the local languages, on the regional languages, and also English, because many of the databases are multilingual to begin with. So if for a conclusion for this
And the
conversation,
librarians
and I feel
assisting
librarian,
those
yeah,
researchers as well. The
exactly, yeah.
librarians should be the ones to
To be,
have
yeah, to
those tools
guide.
as a
Exactly,
help.
yeah. It's just like myself, to be honest, like I was never exposed to a culture to engage with the library. I have to admit, I wish I were. But the, like library where I study, or in biology, molecular biology, it was not common to seek guidance from the librarian because I think it was, the early days of the digital
It's
data.
hard. It's hard. This is our effort as librarians. It's hard to reach those specific, especially very technical fields,
Mm,
and show them that even with them we can dialogue and share to them some specific knowledge on the information management and how to find things, because they it's such like microbiology, such a specific field that you you may understand how to do your research because you are researching on your specific field.
mm,
But then we as a librarians, we can accompany you on how to use tools like Sotiro, or how to take notes with Obsidian, on how to link them together, on how to use those notes that you were extracted from the papers in Sotiro, feed it into a map of knowledge in Obsidian, and then you can use an AI tool to ask questions about your own knowledge graph that you have created. All those things, as librarians, the library, those librarians who are geeks like me, that they like to research on the digital aspect of librarianship. We can give a lot of support to even the specific fields researcher without knowing the specification of the field, but just the information management.
Yes.
And with the perspective of open science, also that to bring to question, with this critical thinking, open science means the privilege should not be the main aspect of your research. Take out your blinders. Look, there is the referencia. Look, in Africa, they are also doing microbiology research, and in Latin America, they are doing in the labs. And that's quite an effort for librarians, that they are the ones on the front of open science, and they are the pillars of open science and open access, because they are doing it in a selfless way. We are not doing open science for our for our grant. We still live on our salary. We are not asking for grants for being better librarians. They are not grants for librarians in the open science infrastructure.
Knowledge custodian with a key in your hands to unlock the venues for the researcher, but also like it goes both ways, and you're literally at the intersection between society, open access, the researcher, access to open access or closed, but let's put that aside.
And the other thing that we are doing now in the university is this literacy on media and information. For students especially, because they are being formatted in a way they cannot critically think about the digital tools, and they cannot have a hacker mindset on the tools. They just do what it can be done in a platform, and they don't do what it's not allowed to do. So we have to promote the critical thinking in the students. We have to promote, otherwise there is no future that other than the one that's designed by corporations. So in the university, besides the knowledge that teachers have to do, the critical thinking and the distrust on technology and a hacking mindset, we at the library are trying to promote, because we have, the library as a maker space was like a paradigm some years ago, but now the library should be a hacking space where students learn about open software, about that they can have even their phones can be put other software on them, that they can install Linux on their cell phones. All those things we try to promote in our library. Especially we have a community that we are open our doors to, is the cyber, how to say, I don't know, it doesn't have a translation, an easy translation. But basically is a collective of hackers that are fighting against the program obsolescence of digital devices. And those computers that are very slow on Windows, they bring it to the to the university, they get to run Linux on it, and very light versions of Linux that even an old computer can very easily be used to study, and give them to students that they cannot afford them. So it's a very nice effort that is so it's ecological. We also question this perceived obsolescence of things, that if it's not the last version of the device, you are out of date, and your social status is being put on question. All those things we have to change, and the library is the place for that. At least the library we want to build in our front.
And also to get that assistance that's needed to stay on the state of the art, whatever that means, in a kind of manageable and operational, functional workflow. Wow, there's a lot. Okay. Thank you so much for the time spent and all your wisdom shared today, and also through the book chapter. Dear people, please read the chapter. To get the details, you can also find a written summary as part of this release. And Sergio, all the best, and I'm sure we meet again soon because of
I hope so.
interest. And thank you so much, and welcome back anytime when you're.
And thank you for your work. I'm a big listener of the podcast, and I'm really appreciate about your work of highlighting the researchers in Africa and the also valuable work.
Yeah, good work deserves to be seen and also engaged. Thank you so much, and speak soon.